Good morning, New Hope kids. This week we are continuing a sermon series at church called Made for More Than This. It's about people who were living life all normal, and then they discovered that God had a bigger and very different plan for their lives. And so the series is about their reaction and what we can learn from them. Last week and this week, we are talking about Esther. I really like Esther. She's a strong girl who discovers a big problem and decides to follow God's way to solve it. I like Esther because she uses her voice to do the right thing. She's very brave. I think what she did was very scary. I don't think it was easy, but she chose to be brave and use her voice and do the right thing. And I think that is really impressive. I also like Esther because she's really smart. She does two very smart things. The first thing she does is she asks everyone to pray so that she would know what God's plan is for her and what God wants her to do. So she asks everyone to pray, first thing. The second thing she does that's really smart is she comes up with a plan. And so I really like Esther because she is smart, she uses her voice, and she chooses to follow God even when it's hard. So I thought it would be fun, since we are talking about Esther again this week, to do a quick review. So I have a really fun video for us to watch, and then we're going to continue with the Sunday service. I hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great day.
And he brought up Adasa, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. Long ago, there lived a young girl named Esther. Esther was raised by her older cousin Mordecai because both of her parents had died. As Esther grew up, she became more and more beautiful. A time came when the king of the land was looking for a wife. Of all the girls in his kingdom, the king was most pleased with Esther, so she became queen. One important palace rule was, do not come to the king unless he calls you. If anyone, even the queen, displeased the king by breaking this rule, the person could be sentenced to death. Perhaps this rule would not have mattered to Esther if it had not been for a royal official named Haman. When the king gave the command that people should bow and honor Haman, Haman expected everyone to just do that. But Esther's cousin Mordecai would not bow down, and Haman became very, very angry. Soon, Haman thought of a way to get rid of Mordecai. In fact, Haman planned to get rid of all of Mordecai's people.
O King, there is a certain group of people living among us. They are different from us and do not obey our laws. If it pleases the king, issue the decree that we may get rid of them once and for all.
Sadly, the king agreed to Haman's evil plan.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Now God's people were in terrible danger, for they were the ones Haman planned to destroy. When Esther heard of the plot, she was upset and afraid. No one in the palace knew Esther was one of God's people too. Esther could not stand by and watch her people die. But what could she do? Esther asked all her friends to pray with her. She knew God could help her be brave. Esther did not forget the palace rule. Do not come to the king unless he calls you. But Esther had to speak to the king. She had to save her people. Esther decided to go against the palace rule.
I have to king. You can't see the king go, you will die. Yeah. If I die tonight, I have to see the king.
And she bravely walked into the king's throne room. The king was pleased when he saw Esther standing before him. He extended his scepter to her. This was a sign that her life would be spared.
What is your request? Grant me my life and spare my people, for our enemy Haman has a plan to destroy us all.
When the king heard this, he immediately put an end to the evil plan against God's people, and Haman was punished for trying to trick the king. Esther was made queen because of her beauty, but it was because of her courage that God's people were saved.